To September 12th, Cabrillo Unified School District Governing Board meeting. Jamie, would you lead us in the pledge?
So we're going to do roll call.
Thanks.
Kimberly,
Here.
Carmen hasn't.
Carmen's here.
Carmen? Okay.
I'm sorry. Lizette's here.
Lisette? Mary Beth? Sophia? Jamie? Martin? We have quorum. Thank you.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda? And I want to acknowledge we do have one other item to add to the consent agenda, and that is for a field trip that was late. Is that correct? Thank you.
Later when we have consent.
Yeah, when we do the consent, we can do that. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you. And yes, we're removing 4I. It's no longer necessary.
A motion to approve as amended.
Okay. Thank you, Mary Beth.
Was there a motion to remove item 4I?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Can I have a second?
Second the motion.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say no. Are you abstaining, Martin? Thank you.
Thanks. That brings us to public comments. I know I had at least one person put in for 4I, so I'm going to call your name during the opening remarks. First, we'll have Claire Gould. Please push the button. Yeah, but we need it for the TV. Hello. Wonderful. Thank you. Good evening. I'm Claire Gould, an art teacher at the high school. I would like to extend my gratitude to our union leadership for their determination, grit, and patience while fighting for a fair contract. Also, a big shout out to our incredible community for always having our backs and showing their support. Additionally, I want to acknowledge our new superintendent, Amber Lee Alva. Your arrival has already made a noticeable difference in our district, and I feel a renewed sense of support under your leadership, a stark contrast to our previous superintendent who made little effort to engage with the teachers here on the coast. To my fellow community members, if you reside in El Granada, also known as Area B, you have the opportunity to vote for 2 new candidates, as our current president, Kim Hines, will no longer be on the board. Let us exercise our vote with discernment, choosing a president who is both competent and empathetic. For those residing in Half Moon Bay proper, also known as Area D, you have the chance to vote for a new candidate, Pete Cernica, who could replace Sophia Lane. My family and I, proud residents of Area D, are excited to support Pete Cernica. We can all agree that the recent months have been marked by exhaustion and stress, much of which could have been substantially mitigated by a more competent and organized board committed to full transparency in budgeting and financial decision-making. I am eager to witness the infusion of fresh perspectives on our board, collaborating closely with our current members and our new superintendent to enhance our service to both our schools and our community. It is time to move beyond the issues of inadequate contracts and lack of accurate financial transparency. I look forward to the meaningful and positive changes that this year holds. Thank you. Thank you, Claire. Daniel Whitmore. Daniel Whitmore.
Good evening. The mood in the room tonight is much different than I expected it to be when I went to bed last night. So I had to rewrite what I was planning to write. So thank you very much for working together last night to come to a successful resolution with the teachers and the contract. A strike would have been challenging to the community, and it was averted at the last minute. However, it does feel like we did exactly what we tell our kids not to do and do their homework the night before it's due. So perhaps we should work further ahead in the future so we avoid these last minute, walking around Tuesday night, walking in circles in front of the district office. Let's really work together in the future so that we don't have to do this again. For future budgets, we need to put our people first. Our people are what make our community great, and we should always keep them at the front of mind. We should be budgeting for salary increases even in non-contract years to ensure the funds are available when it is time for a new contract. As was just mentioned, Amber, welcome to the community. Thank you very much for what you have done so far, and I really do feel like we're turning a new page here. You did mention on Tuesday night that you were trying to make the budget process more open and bring in members of the community. I just asked you to announce those meetings well in advance, because it feels like the last, we've had some budget meetings where the community's been invited, but it's like a 2-day notice, and it's really hard for people in the community to make those arrangements on such short notice. So again, congratulations to the teachers, congratulations to the board, and thank you very much.
Ann Maury. Good evening. Thank you for allowing me to speak. I'm here to talk about the swimming lessons again. I was here several months ago. We're trying to offer fall swim lessons, and we had over 40 people signed up, and things changed a little bit, and all of a sudden we were locked out of the pool last Sunday. So all the kids and the parents and everybody showed up thinking they were going to start their swim lessons, and the pool was locked. So I took a check to the district office yesterday. I sent several emails. I still don't know if we're all set for Sunday. And this program takes a lot of planning. The kids were in tears. The adults were not happy that something was canceled at the last minute. So I hope I get an email from someone at the district level this evening or tomorrow morning, because I just, I have to talk to staff and everybody else. So swimming's important. We're a nonprofit. We offered free swimming lessons all summer. We taught over 100 kids how to swim, adults and teens. We taught over 650 lessons in 6 weeks. So there's a need in the community. There's a desire in the community to learn to swim. And since the district owns the only pool between Tom Lantos Tunnel and Santa Cruz, our swimming program is dependent on being able to use the pool. Can't teach swimming lessons without a swimming pool. So I hope we hear right away, because tomorrow's Friday, and it was unfortunate last week that we got an email at 4 o'clock on Friday, and there was nobody to contact. There was just nothing to do, and I don't want to repeat that. So I hope I hear from somebody from the district that we can use the pool on Sunday. Thank you very much.
Jordana Galino.
Here? Oh, okay. Hi, I'll keep this quick. My name is Jordana Galino. Thank you for allowing me the time to speak. I'll keep it quick, but just to share the sentiment that Ann just mentioned. My son, Enzo, he goes to Hatch, and we don't have a lot of money. We own a shop in town, as you all know from my last name. So we're business owners, and we give back to the community, and we really want the community to give back to us. So when we went there and we didn't have a swimming pool to swim, it really was disheartening. And my son was crying, and he had his goggles on, He doesn't know how to swim. And so this was the first time that he had the opportunity to. And Miss Ann has been really great for us. And I have another one who is going to be following in those steps soon. So I would really just appreciate it if you guys could allow us the opportunity to swim, because we can't afford to go to La Petite. They're wonderful, but we just can't afford it. And that's the only other program here. So I'm begging you guys, please let us swim. That's all we're asking. Thank you. Oh, Enzo, you want to say something, Enzo? Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Enzo. I'm 6 years old. I was sad about swim. I really want to swim. And Miss Ann learned me a lot, and I still want to swim.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Enzo. Pete Cernecka. Pete.
I think we're good to go. Good evening. I just want to start off by thanking the board, the teachers union, and district staff on getting this deal done. I know it wasn't a pleasant process. It was difficult, but you guys deserve credit for getting the job done. This process, however, highlights two big issues that the district's facing, and I want the board to think about this and then come up with a plan for how we will address it. First, we have an enormous pay gap between our teachers and in this district and the other districts in the county. And while this deal is a step in the right direction, it doesn't do a lot to address that major pay gap. And that's a major issue in terms of teacher retention and attracting top teaching talent. So I'd like the board to come up with a plan for how we can get to where we need to be in reducing this pay gap. And I'm not talking about finding room in the budget for a 2% pay increase. I'm talking about a 10%, a 20% pay increase so that we can have the best district we can have. Research shows experienced teachers make the difference, and the only way that you retain experienced teachers and attract teachers with that kind of talent is with pay. Not teacher housing, teacher pay. Secondly, for any family that was interested in following the process with the contract, it was very difficult to know what was going on. You could go to the website and you could pull up financial documents, but they were very difficult to read. So we need to do a better job of telling our fiscal story. We should be putting different things on the website and sort of explaining things in a different way so that people who do not have an accounting background or a finance background can follow. This is important because we want our community members to feel invested in the process. We're going to be asking the community to invest in the district. That's going to be part of the teacher pay gap. It has to be. There's not revenue currently to increase teacher pay. If we're going to ask the community to do that, we have to build trust with the community, and that means telling our fiscal story so that everybody understands and everybody's a part of the process. So, thank you.
Mary McDonald.
Hi, thanks for having me. Basically everything Pete said, so I feel a little silly, but my name's Mary McDonald. I'm a new parent to the district. My son just started kindergarten at Hatch. And yeah, and shout out to all of the teachers. Thank you so much for fighting so hard for this contract. I'm so happy for you that you got it. But as a parent, I'm also don't feel a lot of certainty or faith that this is like a long-term solution. And as a parent, like Pete said, I really didn't have any insight into what was going on until I got a kind of disjointed email on Monday that there was going to be an impending strike. And with a new 5-year-old going to school, that's like really scary. And you guys know that. I know that. But I'm curious to hear from you and be more engaged in this process for the future, since my son and my 3-year-old will eventually hopefully go through this program all the way through high school. What is the long-term plan for keeping teachers in our community? What is the long-term plan for being transparent with your budget? What is the long-term plan for sharing with parents what's going on? And not just parents, but also future people that might want to come live in Half Moon Bay. Because I can tell you, I have a lot of friends that are over the hill and in San Francisco, and I tell them what's going on, and they're like, ooh, yikes, what a nightmare. And I don't want people to think that about our community. I want people to have faith that when they come here and they live here, their children will thrive here. So that's all I ask of you, is to, try to share that with us in the future. Thank you.
Brianna LaFontaine.
Good evening. I also just wanted to say thank you to Amber. We couldn't have gotten here 3 months ago, and the talk amongst the community is thank you, and that change is needed, and it's going to continue to be needed, and we are thankful for you at the helm of this. I cannot thank CUT enough for everything that they have been doing while also successfully educating our children. My 6th grader just started CUNA in August, which has been a lot for us. He loves every day. He loves all his teachers. He got sick one day, crying in the car, because he didn't want to miss any of his classes. This is who I've been fighting for. This is who we've been fighting for. And I am so thankful you got on board. So I'm excited about this change ahead for everything. And I just wanted to say that. Thank you.
Chelsea Mickelson.
Hi, I'm Chelsea Mickelson. I have 2 kids at Cunha and 2 at Hatch. These 2 are my Hatchies and my Cunhas back there. I just also wanted to say thank you. I've spent many nights laying in bed wondering what was going to happen to our district and feeling like the floor was crumbling. Very nervous for our kids, my kids, and I want to thank you for coming to this agreement. I know it was a lot of hard work, and I know it was a struggle, and it was hard to figure out. So I want to say thank you to the board members, thank you to Amber. Thank you for giving me that foundation back under my feet. When I send my kids, I know that their teachers are going to be there, and we're not going to have constant subs like it's been. And she currently has a sub. With that said, this is great progress, and I look to the future. We lost Mr. Payton and Miss Stadelmeyer this summer, who taught my kids. Incredible formative teachers, and I'd like to get them back. So this pay increase is huge, but I feel like there's still room to make progress and increase strategies for attracting teachers on the coast. And I hope that all of us in this room will continue on that hunt for strategies and ways to bring teachers to the coast. And like Pete said, I think the figure is each student gets $7,000 less than other students over the hill, which is enormous and unfair. Like, you board members have said that, and you feel that, right? It's unfair. And it is what it is, but I hope we can fight as a community to increase our resources, our funding, and the coast is attractive. Like, people actually want to be here, but they can't afford it. But we're working toward that. We made a huge step, and I want to continue this momentum. I want the community to continue to look at this and say we could be a better district. We could have more funding. We could have more unity between our staff, our board, everyone. This is good. We're in the right direction. So let's keep going. Let's keep looking. Let's keep working together. And I know tensions have been really rough, but I feel like we're healing, and that's great. So congratulations, and let's do this together. Let's stay on top of the teacher salary issue. Thank you so much.
Next, we have our CUTA representatives.
Wait, John? John? John?
First of all,
John,
folks.
wait. Can you go do that swagger one more time? Just for another applause?
I'm sorry?
Go do that swagger one more time for another applause. Come on, John. Come on, John. One more time. Come on, you guys. Ready? Ready? Everyone, ready?
Thank you. First of all, I'd like to apologize for my slow reaction to the announcement that I was going to speak. As we can imagine, all of us are very tired after a very tumultuous week. I'd like to start tonight with a quote. Education isn't a product that we deliver. It's a service built on human connection. Teachers are the driving force, shaping the learning process, building relationships, and unlocking each student's full potential. After a very tumultuous week, I'm here tonight to remind us of all the things we've avoided. We could have put our most valuable commodity, our students, in the hands of complete strangers today, but we don't have to. We as teachers could have showed up tonight after a day of picketing, tired, angry, frustrated, but we don't have to. We could have come out to this building in full force, 130 teachers packing this building, but we don't have to. We could have sent the wrong message to our parents, community members, and most importantly, our students, that the teachers and the district leadership can't work together. But we don't have to. We could have said to the community that teachers don't matter, but we don't have to. The most important thing in that quote that I read to begin this address is building relationships. Teachers build relationships with their students. District leaders should build relationships with their employees. We hope that this agreement can be the first step in building that relationship, a relationship of honesty, effort, transparency, and hard work. We hope that we can continue to foster a relationship of trust. We hope that everyone understands that education isn't a product, it's a relationship that requires human connection. Let's keep working to keep those people that make those connections with our students here in Cabrillo Unified School District. Thank you.
CSEA.
Good evening, President Hines, board members, superintendent, staff, and community. I am happy that the teachers union settled with the district. This new agreement represents a fresh start for CUSD, with the new district leadership paving the way for improved collaboration and respect among all. I am happy that our members did not have to cross the picket lines to support our students. We recognize the stress the situation has caused our members as well as the community at large. And this is hopefully the beginning of the healing and more respectful approach. I want to thank all my members for their hard work and dedication to our students. A special thank you goes to those who prepared materials, delivered supplies, and organized food for our students in case the strike had occurred. Your role is crucial, and together we can continue to make a meaningful impact in the lives of our students. Thank you for your time.
Board member reports. Mary Beth, would you like to go first?
Sure. I just wanted to say I'm happy that we were able to come to an agreement, and I feel like we kind of have a fresh start, and I feel like we have fresh faces who are very talented. So I'm really happy about that, and I'm looking forward to it. So I feel like we got a new way to go. I know there's efficiencies we can make in the future, and I know that you'll be working hard on those along with the rest of your staff, and to help us move forward even more. And I know that all of us have in our mind students first, and that's what we're always thinking, that we're going to do what's best for students. And I think everyone can agree with that, and I think we always need to keep that in mind. And then just one other thing I wanted to mention, a lot of people I've heard, they're confused or they don't know about things, and I try to bring this up almost every time, every meeting, but there's a website, ed100.org. Is that it? I think that's right, ed100.org, but it's got lots of little classes where you can take little sections and learn about how school funding works and how state, how schools in our state work. And I haven't taken them personally yet, but I've heard from people that they're very helpful, and it can help, have a place to go to learn some of this stuff. That's all I have. Thank you.
Mary Beth, can you please repeat the website?
ed100.org.
Carmen?
I just want to say thank you to the union and the staff for making this work. As a parent, I was really biting my fingernails over this week. So it's really great to send my kids to school today. So thank you, everyone who made that happen.
Sophia?
I think we have a theme here. I'm just really excited that it was a very painful process, obviously, for everybody. I'm glad that at the end, some calls were made, many meetings were had, many of them were late night. It really was through partnership with amazing folks that are here in this room and many who are not in our community, but also beyond at the county, at the state levels, that really helped get some support that was very, very helpful. And I can say we hired Amber based on an interview, as it usually goes, and we were very excited, and I would say cautiously optimistic, as one always is when they hire such an important position for the community. And as folks know, we're a board of 5. We give direction and oversight to the district, but we don't do the stuff. We oversee Amber and her team to do the stuff. So you're doing a great job doing this stuff, and I just want to say that. And I know, speaking probably for the whole board, if I may, to just say how grateful we are for you and your leadership and your ability to start to bridge partnerships across the board with not only just at all the different levels. So I'm very grateful for that. And Jennifer, I think we heard great things about you, and really over the last couple months that you started in this role, got to see your chops with the finance and the accounting. And I'm not easily impressed, I will say, but I am very impressed, and I'm very grateful for you as well. So I brought flowers. I'll give them to you later because it's kind of awkward to walk over there, with all the cords and stuff. I will probably trip, but I just want to say that thank you. And to just also, Mr. Carey, I can't see, take my glasses off so I can see close, wherever you are. We went outside. I appreciate what he said too, because I think that's what's been top of mind to me too, is the relationships and starting to be able to build them and know how we work together, and to say sometimes it's okay to disagree. But in the world today, I think it's a little different than it used to be in terms of that being okay. I'm hopeful that we can find communication structures, develop personal relationships, and be able to work together across all our different roles in the school community. Many of us play multiple roles. For the 5 of us are parents, and one's a recent parent of a school kids here. So I think that's great. I love what I heard from folks that came and spoke today. And again, thank you to everybody who did that. I would love nothing more than to budget raises for future years. I think that would be awesome. I hope we can make the pool accessible for swimming. That would be cool. As Mary Beth said, there are a lot of resources out there. If you can't stay for the board meetings, I know they're really long and sometimes seem a little dry if you're not the one that has to actually sort out the stuff. Sometimes you can also watch them on YouTube afterwards, at 2 times speed, and that's easy. But really, as Mary Beth has said a million times, you know where to find us, or you know where to find. First line of defense is Amber, and second
but second or not, or alternative or complementary is any one of us. And we pretty much make ourselves like accessible. If for some reason we don't reply to the email request to meet and chat, just try it again, because sometimes we miss, or text, yeah, and pretty much half the town has my number at this point, after this many years. So yeah, and I love Chelsea's point about like increasing resources, and that's something that we need to continue doing here locally and beyond as much as we can, hard as it is, but at least to get on the radar to solve those like deeper systemic issues that are challenging for us. So I'm excited. I'm really hopeful. I think this is a big step forward, and I'm looking forward to more to come.
Buenas noches. Les quiero dar la bienvenida a cualquier persona que esté escuchando en español. Primeramente quiero dar las gracias a la comunidad, a los padres, a los maestros y a toda la gente que estuvo involucrada para no tener un paro de los maestros y que los alumnos fueran a la escuela como si fuera un día regular, como cualquier otro día, para que no interrumpieran lo que están haciendo ahorita. Yo sé que como mamá es bien difícil porque una vez que no va a la escuela o que no hace algo se atrasa bastante. Muchas gracias a todos, al distrito, a los maestros, a todos los que hicieron eso posible. Y más que nada, gracias por la paciencia y disculpas por cualquier inconveniencia o incertidumbre que pudimos haber tenido como padres de este distrito. Segundamente, y tristemente yo tengo que admitir que mi hija estaba muy triste de que no iba a haber un paro porque ella estaba lista para estar todo el día en su teléfono en el cuarto de multiusos, y le dije que esa no iba a ser que esa no iba a ser el plan del día. Desafortunadamente yo sé que algunos alumnos no están muy contentos porque no pudieron excusarse por no ir a la escuela, pero yo sé que como padres estamos muy satisfechos y muy contentos de que hayamos llegado a un acuerdo, que podamos trabajar juntos y que podamos seguir adelante, más que nada por nuestros hijos, que al final son nuestro futuro y son nuestra comunidad. Muchas gracias. I just want to say, I can try to remember what I said. I just want to say thank you. Thank you for working together. Thank you, our district leaders. Thank you for the teachers. Thank you for the community. And I hope, we could continue to work together, and apologize for any inconvenience, any loss of sleep. I know I am a parent. Sadly, though, I do have to admit my daughter was not happy to hear that she was going to go back to class. I'm gonna call her out, and I told her I don't care if you're going to be on the phone all day, but you're going to be on the phone on campus. Like, we're going to get through this together. So when she woke up, she was upset that I was going to send her to school for nothing. But now she is even more upset because she actually has to go to school. So I just thank you as a parent. Thank you for working together and for not interrupting what our students our kids are learning. I think that's all I can remember. I'm sorry, I'm not very good translator, but I speak from the heart, and I just want to say thank you to everybody for working together and making this happen, and to continue to work together more than anything, because it's like everybody has said, we're started something that we need to maintain and we need to work on for the future.
Thank you. I concur, but I have a few additions too. So first, obviously, thank you to Superintendent Lee Alva. It truly is a pleasure to have you on board. And I also want to say thank you to the many teachers and many community members that participated in listening sessions to help input for what the requirements were for this new superintendent. Please know that we truly, I believe, heard what was felt and what was needed, and it was wonderful that Superintendent Lee Alva was the person that applied that met all of those requirements. So thank you. And to the teachers and parents and that sigh of relief. Yes, we've made a deal, and the stress of the strike has been abated, and we're going to have work to do. We are not out of the woods yet. There's going to have to be flexibility and understanding and commitment towards relationships, because the money's tight. It's really, really tight. And while we'll have a fiscal stabilization plan, I'm sure Superintendent Lealva will speak to that. I invite your grace and your patience and your input and ideation going forward. I think there's a lot that we can do together in a very positive way. One of the comments tonight was related to workforce housing. If anyone in the room or online would like to understand more about how a project like that could unfold in this community, please call me. I do believe the message has been somewhat conflated. The funds that would go towards workforce housing do not come out of the general fund. They do not come out of the funds that pay teachers. I truly believe we would have we would be fully housed and a waiting list. We are the largest employer here on the coast side, and housing is limited. The long-term solutions throughout the Bay Area are working very well, and the hope would be that it would actually generate income for the general fund long-term. Lastly, there is a fundamental flaw in our current funding formula in the state. And that is a big contributor to the angst and frustration we are feeling here on the coast side. Go check out Visalia. Look at the programs that are offered. At $12,000 per pupil, they can offer far more programming. And the teachers have far greater options for housing. Here in the Bay Area, yes, there is great discrepancy across San Mateo County. We are the lowest funded unified district in the county. And there are 13, if you were to scale for cost of living for other areas in the state, we would need $22,000 per pupil. And more than half of the school districts in our county are well below that threshold. I do believe that we're going to have to figure out how to collaborate with other districts and find a way to respectfully raise our voices together, because in isolation, we have no power. So to our CUTA reps, and for long-term gains, we're going to need to be bringing more funding in, not only for ourselves, but figure out how to collaborate. So I'm thrilled that we abated the strike. I'm thrilled that we came to an agreement. And thank you for all of the long hours for both CUTA negotiating team as well as the district negotiating team. Thanks. And now to our student representatives. Martin, would you like to go first? I'm sorry. Martin, we now have two, Martin, I'm sorry, I don't know your last name. Whereas we have a new student trustee and that is joining Jamie. So go ahead, Martin.
Let's give them a round of applause.
From Pillaricitos.
Hello. Before I get started, I would like to say that as a student, I was pleasantly surprised that this morning when I went to school, that I saw the teachers that I know, respect, and trust, and that they were happy that the strike was over. Now, on to the report. The Pilarcitos team had welcome circles for all students and parents during the first weeks of school. Opening week, we learned about all the classes and set goals, and we picked our schedules. Some of the highlights include we did painting with Bob Ross, where people in the art class watched a video and painted along with Bob Ross. And then we had an all-school circle, which include, well, it's pretty self-explanatory, but we all came around and we all talked and kind of got to know each other before the school started. Oh, I didn't know that. My bad. Oh, okay. Students went on a field trip to San Francisco to kick off a mural class with Ellen Silva. They toured the various murals in the Mission District with one of the longtime members of the Crescita Eyes Muralist Collective. Those are some images. Recently, we had introduction to horse class, which was great. We worked on the ranch, met horses, and hiked with Calvin the pony, who is a stubborn, great guy, really nice. And we are excited to work with Mimi throughout this year. That is it.
Okay, so I'm just gonna start with a general overview of the activities that have been going on at the high school. In the first month, students have been settling into their classes and gearing up for a great year. Fall athletics are underway with football, cheer, cross country, volleyball, water polo, girls tennis, and girls golf. Our football team has played 2 home games so far and has won both of them. Go Cougars! And, and additionally, we are currently in our Welcome Back to School Spirit Week, and our annual sock drive October will begin in a few weeks. The much-loved Service Jam will take place next week, which will give students the opportunity to learn about service opportunities from our local nonprofits. Overall, Half Moon Bay High School students are excited to get involved with their communities and are looking forward to more events coming soon. And also, as one of our student representatives for the Cabrillo Unified School District, I do want to take this opportunity to express some common comments and concerns that I've heard from my peers over the last few weeks. First and foremost, we love our teachers, and we have our full support behind them. They go above and beyond for us every single day by helping us with our homework during lunch, putting so much time into planning exciting lessons, and being caring, consistent parts of our school communities. I know that I would not be the student or person that I am today without the support of my teachers. Ensuring that they are fairly compensated for their work should be the priority. Reaching an agreement and avoiding a strike means that students will be able to get the consistency that we deserve and will be able to continue to learn in a productive environment. I know that the last few days have been very worrying and confusing for students, and I, along with the rest of the CUSD students, are excited and grateful to have our teachers in the classroom. However, I do want to highlight that there was little direct communication with high school students about how the strike would have affected us. We were concerned and invested about how it would affect our learning, and getting information directly rather than relying on emails sent to our parents would help us understand this complicated situation with more clarity and would help stop the spread of misinformation. We students are ready to face the challenges in our community by being informed and using our voices to advocate for what we believe in. Overall, the students of CUSD are so thankful for all of our amazing teachers and are excited to see what the rest of the school year will bring for us. Thank you.
Come on, you guys, a little bit more enthusiasm for our student board members.
Superintendent Liava.
All right, normally I would try to keep this brief, but there's so much to report on. So first of all, I just want to thank, where is John? Did he leave? Is he sleeping? Okay. All right. Well, I just want to thank our teachers so much for everything you do, first of all, but for coming to an agreement in the wee hours, 1 o'clock in the morning. I want to thank Joseph Santoni and Kathleen Wall. Who not only were here with me in the wee hours, but they got up and taught our students. And just thank you, thank you. I think that this new agreement shows that there's a willingness on both sides to have a better relationship, a more collaborative relationship, and a more open and transparent relationship. So thank you. I also just want to thank Jamie and Martin. Oh my gosh. So this is the product of our teachers. So thank you. Thank you. They're amazing. It took all of us to come to an agreement. All of our CSEA partners, all of our CUTA partners, all our management, and our students. And so, Jamie, I heard you loud and clear that we need a direct communication. We need to hear student voices. So actually, before this agenda, and you can attest to this, please, Rosie. I actually asked Rosie to establish a superintendent student advisory committee. What did I call it? Something. I called it something. But in other words, like a group of students that we can hear their voice from high school and from our middle school, because student voice matters. Like we, at this table, at this dais, cannot make our decisions unless we know what our student voice says. So thank you for bringing that to attention. But after meeting with you guys, I already kind of realized I'm like, ooh, wait a minute, we're missing some student voice. So thank you for that. All right, so what I heard today is we came to an agreement, but there could have been some better processes in place before we came to this agreement, and more open and honest and transparent communication about our budget development process. So I just want to say that you have a new CBO, Jennifer Marsh. Give it up for her. And a new superintendent. So one of the first things that we're going to do is we are going to establish a budget development process, right? Very clear, transparent, and open. So I need representatives from teachers, from parents, from a board member, from administration. We've also engaged in the process with a consultant, and I know that can be a bad word, but we have our consultant here with us, Brett McFadden, who has been like the CBO of CBOs to the state, who's helping us kind of like look under the hood, for lack of a better word, like look at our budget, kind of figure out, are our numbers accurate? Are there room for, improvement? Where can we go? And who's helping to advise us, because I don't think anyone would disagree that we have some room to improve with our budget development process and our budget process. So we are engaging in experts, and we're engaging in an open, transparent communication process to make sure that our budget's right. So I just want to say that. Regarding the pool, I'm going to look into that, so thank you for bringing that to our attention. What else? There's a lot of people out there that have said that we suddenly, found money to give our teachers and our classified staff the well-deserved raise they deserve. We did not find money. We are, in essence, borrowing against Fund 40 to make sure that we can pay our teachers to buy us a year of what we call budget stabilization. You have a new CBO, a new superintendent, who need to do the work to make sure that our numbers are accurate and our budget is right. So we're tapping into our Fund 40, which was our facilities fund, which is meant for facilities, but we're going to borrow against it to make sure we have enough cash, right? We have to have the cash to pay our staff, our teachers, and our classified, because it takes everybody, you guys. It takes a village to raise and support our students. So in the meantime, we can make sure that our numbers are accurate, our budget's accurate, our processes and our procedures are accurate. So I just want to thank everyone for that process. And I just also want to make sure that everyone knows that this process will be open. We're going to begin the process in October. So if you would like to join us for our budget development process, become part of our process, please come and join us. We welcome all. We want everyone to participate. I want to also, again, thank John. I'm sorry he's not here, but I thank him for his eloquent speech and for his passion for advocating for our teachers and for all of our staff. And I want to thank Holly for advocating for our CSEA employees. You guys, in the last couple of days when we thought there was going to be a teacher strike, our CSEA really stepped up and made sure that we were ready to go in case we had to prepare. So keep our students safe. Number one priority, safe. So thank you, Holly, and to your staff. I heard that we need to have better communications and better websites. So we're going to be working to make sure that our website is more up to date and more available and more accessible to our staff and to our families. What else? There's just a lot, right? So just know that we are going to continue to work together with you all. I welcome all of your feedback, all of your input. I've said it once, I'll say it again. Please reach out if you want to talk to me. My phone number is 650-445-8008. Call me, text me anytime. I've gotten some really random texts from some parents late at night asking really random questions, but that's okay. That's what I'm here for. I'm here to be accessible and to help you understand. And again, I just want to say a huge, huge shout out to Joseph and to Kathleen for what you did last night in helping us to come to an agreement and to be open and to be collaborative. And that it doesn't end here, you guys, right? So we have two things ahead of us. One, so we closed 23-24 for teacher negotiations, but 24-25 is open. So how do we make that process more transparent, more collaborative, and more supportive? But two, how do we help the future, right? To make sure that we don't get here again, right? So I welcome your input. I welcome all of your feedback. And with that, I just want to say thank you to everyone for ensuring that our kids were here today and our teachers were here today. And I just, again, want to thank you to our teachers and to our classified staff for making sure that we were in attendance today and that our kids were safe and healthy and happy. So thank you.
So I'm going to ask for the motion to approve the consent agenda and a second, and then I'm going to ask that Joseph come up and give us a verbal overview of one item that needs to be added to it. So do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda with one additional item?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you. Joseph, could you give us a quick, just verbal overview of the field trip? Could you give us the field trip? Yeah, please. We don't have it in the written record, and this way everybody gets to hear about it.
So unfortunately, due to the Brown Act, we were not able to add it to the agenda. And so we're going to add it to the next agenda as a ratification. But I just wanted you all to know what it's about so that when you ratify it next month, you'll be okay with it.
Sorry, I didn't realize I was going to come and speak. So this is for the Forestry Challenge field trip. It's the Santa Cruz Forestry Challenge. We take 10, no, I can do it. We take 10 students to an event down in the Redwoods. They learn about forest ecology, forestry skills, forest management, and then they compete in a competition with other schools. It is like 4 days down there, and it's really great. So we have some students who are going to be returning, who were there last year, and then we'll be getting some more students to join this year. So thank you.
Thank you, Joseph.
All right, so we require roll call. Kimberly?
Aye.
Carmen?
Aye.
Lisette?
Aye.
Mary Beth?
Aye.
Sophia?
Aye.
Jamie?
Aye.
Martin?
Aye.
Thank you. Passes 5+2.
The next item of business is item 4A, public hearing and adoption of resolution regarding sufficiency of instructional materials for the 24-25 school year.
Good evening, President Hines, Governing Board, Superintendent Lee Alva, colleagues and community. Every year, we bring this resolution of sufficiency of instructional materials to the Governing Board for approval. We have multiple materials and supplies and curriculum that we approve, and you've received that from our department throughout the years. We have core state-adopted materials that are considered core adoption materials, and then we have supplemental materials. This resolution for sufficiency of instructional materials are specifically only for the core adopted materials, not the supplemental, which
are optional. Could be some manipulatives, could be some additional workbooks. So tonight, we bring to you this resolution that confirms that we have enough core adopted materials, TK through 12th grade, and some of them might still be en route. It is approvable through the state that as long as we've ordered, and some things might be back ordered, it's still approved for us to come and let you know that we are sufficient in instructional materials.
Thank
so
you.
This included a public hearing, Kimberly.
Opening the hearing. Are there any comments?
I didn't receive any
Okay.
cards.
The hearing's closed. Do I have a motion to pass?
So moved.
Okay. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Is this in mass?
Okay, so no, this is roll call.
Okay.
Kimberly?
Aye.
Carmen?
Aye.
Lisette?
Aye.
Mary Beth?
Aye.
Sophia?
Aye.
Jamie? Oh.
Aye.
Martin?
Aye.
This item passes 5+2.
Thank you. That brings us to item 4B, approval of Community Schools Music and Arts MOU.
Hello again. So to the Community Schools and Music Arts MOU, we bring to you as ratification to approve services for TK through 5th grade of 30 sessions of visual and performing art, of music, of performing arts instruction. For TK through 3rd grade, it would be 30 30-minute sessions. For 4th and 5th, it would be 30 45-minute sessions. And for those that are interested in looking at the scope and sequence, in the governing board packet, there's a scope and sequence that you can look at further. Please know that we were working with Music for Minors last year, but as teacher and staff shortage does not only affect public schools, it also affects our education organizations, such as our Visual Art and Performing Arts organization. And so we struggled to find substitutes, or the organization struggled to find substitutes for filling for filling substitutes. So our principal leadership team worked with some of their leadership staff, and they looked at different options for alternative services for delivering and expanding visual arts and performing arts. And we concluded, after doing a lot of research, and voted on using this new service, which is Community Schools of Music and Art. Also important to know that this organization 100% aligns all of their scope and sequence to the visual arts and performing arts standards, California state standards. And I believe that is it. So tonight we are recommending approval of $94,025 using local control accountability plan. As part of our LCAP, we do have VAPA services as a priority under instruction. And again, this funding will come from the LCAP, and we'd like to contract with the Community Schools of Music and Art grant, and we seek your approval. Any questions?
First, do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thanks. So was this part of the Prop 28?
No.
This one's not?
This is local control accountability plan.
Okay, thanks. And so my thought doesn't exactly apply, but it does a little bit. I know that we struggled with Music for Minors and some of the frustration there. I would like to stay somewhat curious as we move forward, both with our VAPA plan, which we'll be talking about next month, and how Prop 28 is going to layer with that financially, and be curious on, is it more efficient having, it sounds like a very high quality program and the teachers that are there, what you brought to us tonight. I have no question about that tonight. But is it worth considering how a teacher might fill that role? And so I know that that has not been a consideration the last couple of years, but when we're saying 90,000 for a particular program, I know Ms. Daniels here has 300 contacts a week as an art teacher, and that there are music and art teachers out there. And so I just, that cost-benefit analysis at some point before we go into the next year, I think might be helpful for the district. So any thoughts?
Yes, so we did last year engage in a fiscal analysis, and a teacher approximately cost us, and Jennifer, correct me if I'm wrong, an average of $100,000, maybe 150, depending on where in the step and column, that if it's a new teacher or an experienced teacher. So assuming, let's just say an average of 100,000, one teacher, along with counting for lunchtime and break time and possibly even travel time. We do have that service right now with our science. We have one science full-time teacher on special assignment, and that one teacher is only able to service one grade level across the district. So in order for us to serve and serve at this level of capacity, 30 sessions, it would cost us $600,000 to deliver the same number of lessons. Yes, it can be done, but it probably would be 10 lessons per class versus 30 or on average. I mean, my math brain is a little slow today, but I think approximately something like that.
The reason I mention it is that this district has suffered from attrition in programming, and we'll talk more when we do the BAPA session. But instead of having 2 full-time teachers, middle school and high school, dedicated 100% to music and solid programming, it's a skeletal system right now. And if we're going to have a comprehensive high school and attract families to the coast side, to keep their kids in Half Moon Bay High School in Cunha, I think it's a consideration, and it's a piece of the puzzle. So, I know some of the families that absolutely love Kings Mountain and Fairlawn View. Some of those are Fairlawn View sending to Seacrest, and for Kings Mountain, they're going to Woodside. So it's something for us to think about, kind of the dynamics. So just those were my thoughts. Thanks. Any other comments, questions? If not, we'll.
I just want to add, I think that when we're in the situation that we're at, right, with some budget concerns, we have to really look closely at every staffing decision. If you think about an average budget like ours, roughly, don't quote me, but roughly, it's an estimate, approximate, 85% of our budget is salary and benefits, right? So that's people, right? So when you start to make reductions, the less impact we have on reducing staff, the less you hurt, right? The less you feel. So my direction has been, moving forward, that we really carefully consider every single new addition to a staff member. So part of this was really considering, you can cancel a contract. Most contracts have a 30-day out. You can't just cancel a staff member. So we're just really being cautious and careful about adding additional staff. But thank you for that. It's part of our budget planning process, because again, what I've always said, we can do anything, we can't do everything. So I will be looking to you, my board members, to prioritize what our priorities are aligned to our strategic plan and our LCAP as we move forward, and our very transparent and very open budget development process start in October to help make these decisions.
Call the vote. Yeah.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, please say no. Martin, are you passing? Or you aye?
I abstain.
Oh. Thank you. So this item passes 5+1.
That brings us to item 4C, enrollment and staffing update.
Before our Director Barnes begins, I just want to say that our Associate Superintendent, Bianca Forrester, would like to be here, but she has a family situation, and we want to make sure that all of our employees know that family comes first. And so I want to acknowledge that and just turn it over to Director Barnes.
Thank you. Good evening, President Hines and Governing Board, Superintendent Lee Alva, and everyone here, community and students. I'm James Barnes, Director of Student Services for the district, and here in place of Bianca Forrester for this enrollment and staffing report. So this was at the request of the Governing Board. We had quite a few departures this last year. 17 certificated staff left the district. Of those, 2 counselors, 15 teachers, 3 teachers retired, 12 resigned, and 2 teachers were not reelected. And one of the most difficult things was we had 5 teachers left Hatch Elementary, and that should be June 29th, and 1 teacher left Half Moon Bay High School, also June 29th, typo there, which is right at the end of the contract year, a couple more days, and they'd be under contract for the next year. But that makes a very short window for hiring, and we do have a teacher shortage, so it makes it doubly difficult to hire during that short window. So the district did a lot of, and this is a lot of this to do with Ms. Forrester, lots of recruitment efforts and hired new staff members, principals working very, very hard over the summer to do so. Half Moon Bay administration worked with our HR department to recruit local parents, getting them credentials. One who was completing their credential at Notre Dame de Namur. And so one of the, we had a number of different positions to fill. One of them particularly is the Spanish immersion program. We managed to hire 3 Spanish immersion teachers, get them visas. Now, at the time this was posted, we were hoping that they would be here. We have, at this point, 1 is here, 1 should be here Monday, and 1 should be coming next week. Everything is in train with that. And this had a lot to do with a partnership between the County Office of Education, HR department, and our HR department to make that happen. So that's a great thing, a real team effort to get that, that staffing filled. And we also recruited a more substitute teacher, getting people credentials, everything we can to develop our own coast-side teaching staff from people who live here, residents here, building our community and building our capacity. And so we want to look at student-to-teacher ratios, looking at our elementary schools. This is an important one. So TK, K through 3rd, the max is 24. So you can see what Kings Mountain has in terms of a ratio, 12-1 in those grades, and 18-1 in 1st and 2nd. And then when we go to a max of 35 for 4th and 5th grade, they have 14-1. Right? It is a small school. And you see the difference here. El Granada has a 17.5-1. K through 3 has 22. And the 4th through 5th grade, 25. And then very similar numbers for Hatch and Farallon View, 24-1, 24-1 for TK. And do note that TK also has another aide in the classroom required by law. So there's 2 adults in the TK classrooms. And then K through 3, we see 23 and 24, and 4 through 5, 25 and 27. So those are our staffing ratios in the elementary. Next one, please. Certificated staffing. So we have an enrollment. You can see the enrollment in the blue column this year, 44 for Kings, 330 for El Granada, 553 for Hatch, 171 for Farallon View. So fairly similar numbers, give or take, from the year before. And our actual FTE, meaning the full-time equivalent teachers, 5 and a little bit at Kings Mountain, 20 at El Granada, 27.8 at Hatch, and 8.2 at Farallon View. So you can see the actual number of teachers and then how much they work, which, whether they're working 100% full-time, a little less or a little more. Next one.
Point of clarification.
Of course.
These numbers are kind of hard to see, but all of these presentations are attached to our agenda, which is online and accessible via our website.
Thank you for that clarification, yes. And here's for classified staffing. So it breaks down to a whole number of different positions. Clerical, as your front office staff, librarian services, yard duty, food service, and so on. I won't read through the numbers. You can see them for yourselves, custodial staff. But it's relatively small, even in the larger school like Hatch, the number of clerical staff and larger numbers of yard duty and a little more custodial. Then going on to our secondary schools, because they are period by period and the kids move from classes, you can have one average student to teacher ratio for the entire school, although of course some classes are fuller and some are going to be less, but that's the average, 22-1. And max staffing is, or max ratio would be 35. And then for certificated staffing, we have a total enrollment of 524 this year, down from 542. And our number of teachers, when you add them all up, you got your FTE, special ed, counselors, intervention, we have 31 at Cunha. And then for classified staffing, you're going to see larger numbers than you do at the elementary level. Almost 4 FTE and clerical staff, librarian. We have a campus security rather than yard duty, and 3 custodians, 2 night and 1 day custodian. And then Half Moon Bay High School, same idea here. We have a ratio of 21-1. And then for staffing here, we are gone from 987 to 898 students in the enrollment, and we have an FTE of 51.4 teachers equivalency. And again, classified staff breaking down 5 clerical staff, 4 custodians, 3 campus security, and so on through the classified staff. And then Pillarcitos, another special case, 12-1 ratio. It usually do have a much lower ratio with a continuation school than you would in a comprehensive school. This includes our kids who are in person and our independent study program where our teachers work with virtual students. The students aren't virtual, they work with them virtually. And so here's our staffing, 1 principal, 1 lead teacher, Ms. Bendanya, and we have the enrollment, including our hybrid, our CBIS, is really closer to 60, but 48 full independent study and in-person Pillarcitos students. We have 3 teachers. We don't actually have 0.5 special education. It's more like kind of 0.3. We just are getting a 0.2 right now in addition. There he is. Thank you, Kenan. And we have a vacant counselor position, so our FTE should be about 3.5. And then, we have 1 admin assistant, Susie, and we have a part-time social emotional counselor. And again, and that's about it. And half a custodian. Miguel's fantastic. And that is it for me. Well, and the adult school. We share space at Pillarcitos with the adult school, but they are funded completely differently and separately from K-12 education. Any questions?
Thank you. First, do I have, see, this is a presentation, so questions, comments?
I have a couple. So thank you for standing in for Bianca on this. This is really great to see. I know we've been starting to do this every year, and we're kind of getting into that rhythm of getting more insights into how the staffing, because the staffing is, and actually I calculated it for this year with the changes. I think if they go through, it's about 86%, and 85% is average statewide. It tends to be a little bit lower, more close to 80% as far as I know for smaller school districts that do need to rely on outside services for, because we just don't have the critical mass to need like a full-time people to do a lot of things, and to the point where you mentioned earlier, when you're under financial strain, it also is a strategy to have more flexibility. But I was curious to, I guess, number one, same thing probably that you said for La Costa Adult School applies to Los Listos, because I think that wasn't included here. So
We
let's
didn't,
leave
it's
this-
not included in the
Because
presentation.
again, the same thing, completely different funding streams, different models and all that kind of stuff. The second question is escaping me, so I'll let somebody else go first if they have more. If not, I'll find you where you live. I know where you live. Oh, because I did notice you said you're the principal, but just also, again, for full transparency, you're like one of those people in the district that wears like 5 hats as well. So just to kind of make sure people know, what else do you do, James?
You name it, I'm there.
Pupil services, like a
Yeah,
lot of
student
the.
services, you know, I do a lot of the attendance work as part of that. I've been working very closely with the high school in terms of chronic absenteeism, and then, you know, helping out been on negotiations, and that's why I'm very tired tonight. And which I'm very, very happy, though, to be here doing what we're doing tonight instead of the alternative.
Yes, thank you so much. My other question, I don't know if this is something that you'd be familiar with, because I know you're not involved as Bianca's in the day-to-day HR side of things, but these numbers that we see here, are these fairly typical for other school districts, or are they this a little bit on the low side or high side? Or?
I think that, well, that's what we're going to be looking at. I think we've you know, because you see, like, for instance, the high school had, I think, a ratio of 21-1, and that's not, of course, even. We do see we really need to dig into our staffing ratios and look at classes, and that's where we're going to be looking at savings. And so, you know, obviously, it's a great value to have a low ratio, but it's also costly. And so I think that's where we're going to be looking as part of our work in the next year.
So I'd like to add on to that. So last week I attended a conference of Coalition of High School Superintendents, paid for by scholarship, not anything out of direct funds. And there was about 46 school districts there across the state, and our ratios are incredibly, incredibly low. So if we consider 86%, you said, thank you for the accuracy, 86% of our budget is staffing. If we have to, in order to afford this raise for all of our staff, which is well-deserved, we're gonna have to look really closely at staffing next year. And our ratios are incredibly low, and so it's gonna become up to the board, right? It's about priorities. What are our priorities? And so most districts, especially in the secondary, staffing is upwards of 30 or more. So we have to really look at that. We have to look at our elementary staffing, we have to look at our high school staffing, you know, what is our staffing ratios, and what are our priorities? So I just want to bring that to attention, because this is going to become a play as we start our budget development process. We are really low staffing, or low class sizes.
That makes sense, and I think that there are kind of 2 key principles, because you know, when we're looking at our budget and using it efficiently, and Jennifer might, I'm sure, looks at other things too, but for me, like two of the key things are what money is coming in and what money is going out, and you want to maximize the money coming in and you want to minimize the money coming out, and that's why we do things like parcel taxes and bonds, which also save us operational costs, because you get energy efficiencies from solar panels, LEDs, heat pumps, etc., and you also reduce your maintenance costs when things aren't like crumbling. So that's that positive side of the equation. And the cost, of course, gets to a little bit what you're speaking of, which also, when you're talking about like staff and number of adults compared to the number of kids, it's, you know, you can play with the number of the people, or you can play with the amount per person, and kind of reach that nice happy point. And I think that'll be kind of good conversations for us to have with you guys on board, and think about kind of how we plan for that moving forward, to just get that right balance and get more revenues if possible.
Yes, because right now we have too many adults per student fiscally. I'm not saying programmatically, but fiscally, we have too many adults per student. But that's where we can get creative with our community, is how can we fund some of those positions maybe with categorical dollars, what used to be called categorical dollars, but maybe LCAP dollars or grant dollars. But all candidness, right now, fiscally, we have too many adults and not enough students to fiscally solve it. But there's lots of strategies and creative ways we can solve this, and I'm counting on all of our resources, I'm looking at some of those people, to help us figure out how we can be creative.
Any other questions?
I don't have any questions. I just want to thank you for everything that you do. I mean, you've been a principal, you've been a teacher, and more importantly, just see you in action on the first day of school and helping out that lost little man. And you know, I have to say your Spanish was me impresionó. No sabía que hablabas tan bien el español. Y muchas gracias por ayudar, porque esos son los momentos pequeños que hacen una gran diferencia. Muchísimas gracias por estar allí y por ayudar a nuestros alumnos constantemente. Muchas gracias por todo lo que haces.
I can add to that because I know estudia mucho. Estudia mucho. Yes, very much. And also to just add to my appreciation to you that you talked about all of our schools and including, I didn't mention it earlier, but just I'm so thrilled to have Martin here with us too, and to be able to hear about all the different alternatives that we have for learning, and to feel like, you know, that kind of honoring and that kind of presence and that kind of voice is what creates communities' sense or people's sense of belonging, not just inclusion. Like the first step is like, okay, you know, we include you, but like we just talk about one high school, right? That's like historically what's often happened. But to have a seat at the table, to me, is really really important to feel like we have two high schools. So
I'm so
really
stoked to have
grateful for
Martine
that.
here.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for stepping up for this
You're going to get
and
a lot of
representing
attention. I hope
our
that's
school.
okay.
Yes.
And I know Amber has said that we have two high schools.
Yes, and I met
think
with
it's really
both of these young and intelligent representatives, and they're awesome. And Martin, I just want to apologize. It's my fault. We don't have a nameplate for you. It was just an oversight. We will make sure we get it next time. So I apologize.
I just wanted to finish and say what I said in English, because I think it's important for you to, you know, to be acknowledged. I think you're an amazing man, and I just want to thank you for everything that you do. And I want to remind you that it's all the little things that make a big difference, and having you there on the first day of school and helping a student I was going to help. I was as lost as him, but we were going to figure it out. And then just having you and just taking care of him, and native Spanish speaker, thank you so much. Those are the little things that make a big difference to our students, and you continue to do a great job. So thank you for everything that you do for the district.
Well, thank you very much. I really appreciate that.
And I do want to welcome you, Martin. I hope that you feel comfortable enough to voice and express any concerns or any feedback. So welcome. And yes, you are from a different high school, but we have definitely have not given credit to that high school, because you guys also do amazing things. And thank you for being here.
Okay, thank you, everybody.
Thanks. That brings us to item 4D, approval of unaudited actuals.
Well, while they're presenting, I just want to say to you, oh, yes. Yes. No, Martin, you can, but Martin, wait, before you go, I just want to say, so I met with both Martin and Jamie beforehand while we're getting this queued up, and I will tell you, I've not seen such articulate and intelligent and amazing students in a long time. I asked them both their perspectives on the pending strike at the time, and they really offered me some great insight, which is what they prompted me to then realize I need to get student voice, so forming my superintendent student committee. So thank you. So Martin, good night. And Jamie, if you need to go too. We know you've got school. All right, technical difficulties are solved.
That's okay. Thank you, Leticia. Good evening. And I'm Jennifer Marsh. I'm your CBO. And I'm here tonight to present the 2023-24 unaudited actuals. Where we currently are, you all have seen this slide before. Where we currently are is unaudited actuals in September. Next up would be our audit report and first interim report through October 31st. And the next slide. Just an overview of those dates and those budget actions. You can go to the next slide. And what is unaudited actuals report? It's a financial summary of how all district funds completed the prior fiscal year. And it only looks at that one fiscal year. The report is titled unaudited because it has not undergone an independent audit analysis. Unaudited actuals are compared to estimated actuals that were used as a base for the 24-25 budget. It's required by state law and must be reviewed and adopted by the by the board. I'm a little tired here, sorry. And data and information are provided to the district's auditor. The district's annual independent audit is scheduled for early October. And our final audit to the report to the board is going to be in January 2025. Some common reasons for differences between the estimated actuals and the unaudited actuals could be that the revenues are higher or lower than anticipated, expenditure allocations or budgets were underspent or overspent, and expenditures planned for 1 year are deferred to a future fiscal year. So this is a comparison of your estimated actuals and unaudited actual revenue. I've broken down the variance by dollars and by percentage. The main thing here that I would want to highlight is the negative $264,000 in the LCFF revenue, which was due to the supplemental taxes coming in $314,000 lower than projected at the P2 taxes. And there's a couple other things on this slide that are other state revenue. There's an increase due to state lottery revenue. Other local revenue, there was an increase in facility use rentals of $50,000. It's a combination of many things, but those were just some of the highlights of the revenue variances. And we can go to the next slide. This is your summary of expenditures, comparisons. You can see the variance by certificated salaries, classified salaries, employee benefits, books and supplies, services, and other operating expenditures. There was nothing in capital outlay, and then other outgo. So the total variance for all of those categories was $633,241. So I would say one of the things I highlight here in the classified was that was due to $141,000 of vacation liability being paid out to our members. And also in the benefits, that would be our largest variance there. And that was reconciliation of the health and welfare benefits. There was a large debit balance that should have been cleared in the 22-23 year, and that was a transaction that needed to be done at the end of this fiscal year. And then moving on to the next slide. Our transfers out are our transfers to our food service, Fund 13. It came in a little bit higher. We needed an additional $31,000 in that transfer. And then the contributions, sorry, I don't have any notes on that, but it came in just a little bit higher, $62,000. That would be like to our maintenance account, to our transportation account. SPED is a major contribution that is made to a restricted fund. And so with all of those factors, the decrease in revenue and the increase in expenditures, we had a decrease in our ending balance of $888,639. So our ending balance ended at $2,664,000 compared to estimated actuals, which was $3,552,650. And that's all for that one. And the next slide. See, these are our ending balances in our other funds. Our ASB account, adult ed, child development, a preschool account, cafeteria, deferred maintenance, special reserve, building fund, capital facilities, capital outlay, and our bond interest and redemption. And those are just our ending balances at the end of the fiscal year. And I'm sorry, that is actually labeled wrong. I should say 23, 24 unaudited actuals. And our next slide, please. There you go. So our next steps. Our 24-25 first interim report. So that is through October 31st. We will be working on that and through November and then presenting in December. The work that we need to do there, among many things, is the position control, actual staffing costs, enrollment ADA, and other operational costs. And in addition to that, on the first week of October, we will have our auditors in our department, and they will be conducting the 23-24 audit on our unaudited actuals. And do we have any questions?
Thank you so much, Jennifer. First, do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
And
thanks so much. Questions, comments?
I have a couple. So first, thank you, Jennifer. I really like this format that you kind of walked us through a lot of the rows and the tables, and that SACS report can be a little overwhelming for a lot of folks I know. So thank you. I appreciate this format and like depth of review. I'm curious too, like your thoughts around our focus on the unaudited actuals. I mean, I kind of understand. I know the rationale because that's like where we have actual flexibility as opposed to the restricted funds. But can you just speak to folks to just give the context of the unaudited actuals that we were looking at here that were unrestricted, and kind of the context of the budget in terms of the restricted funds and the totals, and anything we should kind of be aware of in that regard?
Yeah, I apologize for not including the restricted in this presentation. I can bring that later on at a fiscal update if you'd like me to also include that, but I do have the total of restricted was $4,898,548, and that is made up of several different programs, so different grants mostly. The largest being the Learning Recovery Emergency Block Grant is $1.3 million of that balance. But it is on, I think it's page 14 of Form 01 in unaudited actuals, the details of this balance by resource.
Great, thank you.
Sure.
If there are no other questions or comments, let's call the vote.
All in favor, please say aye.
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 Those opposed, please say no. This item passes 5-0.
Thank you.
Just point of order, can I make one more comment to just say, stating the obvious too for folks, that this does not include, well, I guess here's my question. Well, this is prior year, so yes, so of course it does not include any pending increases in compensation because it's the prior year. So.
This brings us to item 4E, adoption of resolution 23-2024, approving the GAN limit for the 2024-25 fiscal year. I don't get tongue-tied.
This is just a standard item that we need to approve every year. It's standard business of operating. Did you want to add anything, Jennifer?
Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I know we've done it every year, so it's in the packet. Call the vote.
All right, so this is a resolution, and we need roll call. Kimberly?
Aye.
Carmen? Aye. Lisette?
Aye.
Mary Beth?
Aye.
Sophia?
Aye.
Passes 5-0.
Item 4F, adoption of resolutions 2024 for temporary interfund borrowing for fiscal year 2024-25.
Okay. Okay, so this again is a pretty standard resolution that we were bringing to the board for temporary interfund borrowing, specifically Fund 40. This allows us the flexibility to borrow between funds based on cash flow needs. And it's avoiding taking a short-term loan when cash is either low or negative. Right? So we recommend that you approve it.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. And just that my last little comment is I appreciate this, Jennifer, because in the past, because we are basic aid and we're this flipper district, sorry, but anyways, it's what happens is that we run short of money. And if we borrow money from the outside, we pay interest on it. We're not a rich basic aid that we have enough reserve. And so it's only if we borrow from funds that we can close these gaps. So thank you for bringing the solution.
It's nice to not pay interest. I'm going to just emphasize that point.
Big.
Well, and meanwhile, we earn interest, right?
And
when
I
you have
just
the
wanted to
budget.
add one point of clarification. We did already take this to the board at a limit of 4 million, so we're just bringing it again to increase it to have maximum flexibility.
Okay.
And the reason that we run short of money, per President Hines, is because when you are a community funded, we changed the terms, right? You only get tax revenues twice a year, in December and in April. And so that's different than when you are LCFF funded, when the state gives you the money. So in between when the state would have given us the money and our bills have to be paid, we're just waiting until our tax revenues come in.
Thank you.
Not like a loan because you don't have the funds. It's a loan because you don't have the cash flow alignment with your expenditures.
Well, because we're waiting for when the state or the
Yeah.
taxes come in.
Call the vote.
Ready? Okay. So this is also a resolution. Kimberly?
Aye.
Carmen? Lisette?
Aye.
Mary Beth?
Aye.
Sophia?
Aye.
Passes 5-0.
Item 4G, approval of Studio W Architectural Services Agreement Amendment 7. For Fairlawn View.
Someone introduce them. I think it's
I'm sorry.
introduction.
Sorry, at this point, I would like to introduce Studio W.
Studio W. I'm sorry, I didn't know who was presenting, if it was Roger. Thank you for being here, yes.
I'll be happy to speak to it if you don't mind. I'm Brian Whitmore, Studio W Architects. Good evening, glad to be back here. So what you have in front of you, the way our contract is based is we have a percentage of construction cost-based contract. And that's typical for architecture firms working on state projects throughout the state of California. We initially, probably 3+ years ago, when we initiated the process with Fairlawn View, had established an early estimate, I think it was approximately $14 million. And that was really to get us started through the process. We recognize that at some point, once contractors on board, there's going to be the establishment of guaranteed maximum price, which actually occurred about a year ago. And then we put together a reconciliation. So essentially reconciling that cost with our agreement, making sure that we have the ability to then invoice based on that contract amount. We would actually do that again at the very end of the project once we know how much contingencies and other things are ultimately spent. We did actually put together a letter and put that forth to the prior CBO over a year ago. It was brought to their attention. It was actually signed at that time. I mean, we've since been invoicing, and then it was brought to our attention, I think, with new leadership, they want to bring this back and actually bring this to the attention of the board. Normally, we don't go through the process of actually getting board approval of this, simply because we're not changing our contract in any way, shape, or form. We're simply identifying the fact that we're reconciling that cost with what we anticipate the cost to be. Right now, that's reconciling to a $20 million number. The actual guaranteed maximum price is a little bit higher than that, but that includes some contingencies, and we recognize that more than likely some of those contingencies are actually going to come back to the district at the end of the project. So we will probably have a final reconciliation at the end of the project, and that's at the end of phase 2, so it will really be at the end of next summer, so next fall, when we complete phase 2 at the project at that time. I think the board agenda item recognizes a few other amendments that had occurred along the way. Generally, those amendments are things that wouldn't otherwise show up in the construction costs, so they may have been special studies, they may have been other things that we were asked to do along the way that wouldn't otherwise be reconciled in the construction costs moving forward. One of the things that I will mention we do by practice, when we do reconcile our costs at the end of the project, if there's any errors or omissions that we are responsible for, in other words, if there was something that was done by mistake or had added to the cost of the project that wasn't something that you should have otherwise taken care of, that is something we deduct from the final reconciliation of the construction cost, because we're not going to ask, obviously, for a fee associated with that. So really, this is more of an informational piece for all of you. Again, I know you have it on action tonight. Generally, in the future, hopefully you won't have to take action. It's really more of a formality, but something you should know going in is when you sign these contracts about kind of how we do business and how ultimately most architectural firms get compensated for these projects. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thanks. First, do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. One of the my questions in the board memo, it listed a number of prior memos.
Yeah.
When those memos come through, because it wasn't attached and we couldn't see it, we just see the roll up of this is a delta cost of $250,000. Did each one of those memos have some cost associated with it?
Those did individually, and I provided those to the district just as a reoccurring statement here just recently, I think a couple of days ago, and I think, Ms. Hines, it came from one of the questions that you had directly.
Okay, yeah,
So
it hasn't made it.
it may not have made it back to you directly, but we do have those, and they range in cost from $3,000 to $11,000. Like I said, one of them, for example, there was a conversation that was occurring at the district about rainwater capture. There was a study that we put together to consider rainwater capture. Ultimately, that didn't find itself into the project, but we had done that. One of the things I will say, some of those amendments did pay for was a lot of work to actually try and reduce the cost. If you recall, we were looking at a budget of somewhere around maybe 25 million before we had actually brought the project to the contractors for final pricing. And so there was quite a bit of reduction in value engineering that we went through, and there was some compensation associated with that at that time as well.
Thanks. And are there, is your architectural team involved in the current lighting actions or
I'm glad you brought that up. Yes, we are. And more so our electrical engineer, who is obviously involved in that process. Just so you're aware, we are looking for solutions on that as we speak. One of the things we have to maintain is a current lighting standard as it pertains to code. So anytime we have a parking lot or path of travel on the site there, we have to maintain a certain foot candles in order to create a safe environment, and that's from California code, California building code.
You can find a 4-leaf clover on a football field right now.
Sure. It's actually 1-foot candle. It's not a huge amount, but it is required for safety and for security at night. And so we do meet that requirement. I think in a couple of cases, we've got just higher than that, 1.5, 1.6 foot candles in some areas. I think the issue at hand is that You can see the light fixture, you can see the lamp. We're looking at, can we dim those down in certain cases and get just to the bare minimum, and then also provide cutoff for some of those light fixtures. We know we can do that with the parking lot fixtures, and we're researching right now if we can do that with some of the building mounted features, or fixtures rather. So we're working on that. And that obviously is part of our responsibility. And like I said before, we take that seriously. We'll make sure that we will get that done.
Okay, appreciate that. And for the public and for other board members, Midcoast Community Council discussed the lights at Fairlawn View 2 weeks ago. So if you want to hear public comments, the fact that we've got a white roof, that the lights from the parking lot would shine down, and when we have fog, just like Rocket Farms, any of our sites that have additional light, it's just a beacon. People were saying they could see it at Half Moon Bay Brewing Company. They could see the lights at Fairlawn View when they were on. And so we just want to be good neighbors and on all of our sites and figure out path forward. So thank you for talking to that.
Yeah. Hopefully, all of you have gone to visit the completion of at least phase 1, and you have seen the night and day difference, which is very apparent, obviously, between phase 1 and, of course, I understand there's demo happening with phase 2 right now. But we were there, obviously, just before classes started. We took some photography. And even for us, as the architects and designers, it's always a question of, how is it going to turn out? What's it going to look like? And that night and day difference between the existing facilities that were still remaining in phase 2 and the new classrooms in those facilities, it's hopefully you're happy with the outcome. Because it is significant. But we are working on light fixtures.
I appreciate the reminder because I saw it in Amber's video today that she showed it, which is great. And sometimes we go so fast and we're doing so many things, we forget to pause and celebrate the accomplishments. And I think that's a huge thing. I mean, it's just looking from the video, it's gorgeous. And I know once you go in it, it's like it's a transformative experience to be like in a nice building. Not like super fancy high end. It's not the Ritz, but like, because that would be irresponsible. But it's like just compared to how it was before, it feels like the Ritz, right? Just kind of looking at it. So it looks really nice and great. And thank you to you and the team and Roger for getting it done.
Yeah, and we're not done yet. We have not quite another year of construction, but obviously next fall, we look forward to, I'll say, the ribbon cutting of the completion of both phase 1 and phase 2, where really all of that transformative things that happen in building A happens with building B, and then that courtyard space and kind of everything comes together. So thank you.
And I don't know if you, I'm sorry, I must have drawn a blank. Do you see any foreseen, foreseen increases? Or is that, I mean, it's hard to tell, but
sure.
Like you've kind of been working on site, you kind of know, the elements of what you're working with a little more than you did before you even started. So is there anything that you could tell us that you think is something that we're gonna have to, consider?
We always build in a little higher contingency when we're doing modernization projects because we are uncovering things, as we go through the process. Most of what we learned in phase 1. So for example, you may recall like even the backflow prevention device, that was required for, the water district. There were some other items like that. A lot of that's been discovered in phase 1 and we've gotten through that process. The guaranteed maximum price is exactly that. It's intended to be a guaranteed maximum price that has enough contingency built into it that we're not going to exceed that amount with the contractor. And as far as we understand, that continues to be the case. We will likely see some elements, deduct from the contingencies, but never go above that amount. Now, again, we're reconciling at least this component up to the $20 million number. I think that guaranteed maximum price is a little bit higher than that. But with what we see contingencies left over, we're not going to be very far off of that mark. So you're not going to be spending anything more than at least that guaranteed maximum price, probably less than that. And then we will have a small reconciliation at the end just to reconcile to the final cost of construction. Keep in mind too, and we try to educate our district partners on this all the time, that when you as a district think about construction costs, you have to think about those corresponding soft costs. And so where our fee often will reconcile with construction, so will DSA. DSA is going to want to get paid based on their actual cost of construction in the end. And so we want to make sure that that's the case, that we maintain all of those costs as well, because we don't want to overburden soft costs where we can. But that is something we are maintaining. And I would say, probably Roger can speak to that more, but I do think we're falling short of that guaranteed maximum price by a fair amount.
Thank you. I was, go ahead.
If I can add, just as far as the current status of the project, we just finished asbestos abatement out inside of Building B, so now it's a completely cleared out building. So we've removed a lot of those old hazardous materials, the lead, the asbestos is now out of the building. And tomorrow actually is when we do a walk of the inside of the space with all the subcontractors to just verify that everything's as expected. So if we see any unexpected, it would be now during that walk, but we do have those built-in contingencies to help with surprises.
Yes, and by no means, if there is unforeseen cost that's going to be beneficial, I mean, we don't want a reoccurring Cunha, this building incident where, someone didn't, there was a big little mistake done, and so definitely, that makes sense. I was just curious to see if there was anything down like the line that you saw that, we could expect.
Yeah, I think, by all intents and purposes, the project has actually gone quite smoothly. I mean, since some of the initial things that we had to grapple with, with underground infrastructure and some of that discovery, the project's gone very well. We've had a good contracting partner out there. We've had the ability, obviously, to work on the site without interfering with, some of the activities. Hopefully that's improved now that administration and, kindergarten and some of those things are back in those spaces. But like I said, we're really looking forward to getting both phase 1 and phase 2 done, because that's when, we really expect the transformation.
Thank you. And thank you, Roger, for just being our eyes and ears and just making sure that everything gets done and done right, which is more importantly. I just want to touch base on the lighting. I'm not very familiar, and maybe there's things that I don't know. But my only concern with the lighting is safety. So I understand. I mean, I'm speaking as a renter. I mean, I'm not. I wasn't privileged to buy a beautiful home and have a great view, and and I'm happy people can do that. And as a rightful homeowner, you should have the right to enjoy that. I completely agree. But I also think that safety is very important. And I'd like to also make sure that, for example, I know you were mentioning turning off the lights and making janitors park in a certain way. Maybe leaving the lights on a little longer till they finish their job. I think it's important that we also consider the safety of our staff and consider the safety of these campuses. And it's hard for me to say because I know that I'm not a homeowner, and I would probably, I would agree with the homeowners who are not happy with the situation. But I'm gonna probably have people hating me after this, which is okay. I'm not on social media, so I don't care. I also think it's something to consider when you bought your house next to a school, and every school will eventually wear and tear down, as we have on the coast because of the beautiful beach that we pay a price, right? So when you renew and renovate and make things better, things are not going to be the same like they were before, and those are some things to consider. But I'm more concerned about the safety of our staff and our janitors who are working out there. I don't think, like I said, I'm probably speaking out of ignorance because I haven't. I'm going to admit I have not gone to see the beautiful site, and I'm going to make it a priority to go this weekend on my day off. But I think it's also important to consider the safety of the space and also the employees as well.
And as Brian mentioned, we're working on solutions for the lights, and we when we do have those solutions, there will be a test date and to make sure that we can try the lights out and make sure that the janitors and custodians and the teachers are all safe. We just haven't found that right solution just yet, but it is.
Make it work, Roger. Make it work.
Well, if I could add, just for the Mid-Coast Community Council, if you watch the video, I just want to acknowledge that every single person that spoke acknowledged safety and the need for safety. That's not a question. It's not just people next door, but up the hill and from a distance, because we've got an environmental committee, and it affects wildlife and livestock and wildlife. And so it's a more complex concern. Both Farallon View and El Granada are in the coastal corridor, and especially with the wildlife, and it doesn't seem that obvious, but it was like trying to take all of these variables, including safety, and integrate them in a thoughtful solution. So thanks for mentioning safety.
So I met with Roger and our Director of Maintenance and Operations, and I'll probably get his title wrong, but Jaime. And I asked the question, like, what do your custodians need to be safe? And so I am working with Roger, and I'm working with Jennifer, who's our CBO, to make sure that we have the lights on. So we're looking at their schedules, right? And when they end, shutting lights off after their schedules. We also have to consider that we do have some special events, like we have a movie night coming up on September 20th, where the lights will be on until the movie night's over. But our primary responsibility is safety, and so we will make sure that as soon as their schedule's done, right now it's not an issue because we haven't daylight savings yet, so when they leave, it's still light, but we will come to a point this fall where they will be working and lights will be on, and so we will make sure those lights are on until they leave, and then we will shut them off.
I just have one quick question, because you mentioned the DSA fees, and I sometimes forget about those because there's so many different kinds of things. Can you remind us, like for a project like this, what is the fee? Roughly, ballpark. And if you don't know, that's fine too. I'm just kind of curious.
I know, now you're putting me on.
Yeah.
It's probably somewhere around, I want to say maybe 1% to 2% of total construction costs, somewhere in that ballpark. But it is a function of construction costs because oftentimes what we do is we will submit a project and we'll actually put, we want it to be real, but we'll put a little bit lesser dollar amount on there, knowing that at the end of the project, they're going to reconcile and want to get paid. What we don't want to do is put a higher dollar amount to where then DSA owes you money back, because getting money back from the state, it's going to be a very long time.
Okay, so it's like hundreds of thousands.
Yeah.
That makes sense. All right, thank you. In addition to the stuff they make us do, which costs more than hundreds of thousands.
Any other questions, comments? Thank you guys very much. Let's call the vote.
All right, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Those opposed, please say no. Passes 5-0.
Thank you. And that brings us to our last agenda item before governance matters. That's 4H, approval of budget and fiscal consulting service agreement with Total School Solutions.
So upon the first writing to Cabrillo, I heard from our teachers and I heard from our staff that there was a lack of trust in the district with our budget development process. And there were some gaps in our procedures and development. So I had consulted with Total School Solutions to not only help us make sure that our budget is sound and make sure that our numbers are good, but also to support our brand new CBO, that she has all the resources that she needs to make sure, because we are heading into some difficult financial times. And so just as a point of reference, the cost of this contract did not need to come to the board because it's under what the board allows me per board policy to do. But I want to just be really transparent and open with our public. But this contract has already paid for itself because we had a little issue with some cash flow stuff with the county and with the state. And because we have consulted with an expert who is well-versed and well-connected with the state and with the county, we were able to avoid some of those fees. And so this contract has paid for itself. So staff recommends approval of this contract, and we're open to suggestions or comments or questions about anything about this.
Thank you, Brett.
Well, first, let me ask for, do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
And then comments, questions?
I just want to add one more comment. Sorry, I have to. But we entered into this contract, again, per board policy. I did not have to bring it to the board, but I want to be really open and transparent. We entered into this contract for financial consulting services. But then we found ourselves in some difficult, we entered into some difficult labor relations. And so what started out as a contract for financial services really turned into be a contract for labor negotiation services. And I just want to commend and appreciate and thank our consultant, Brett McFadden, who was there with us last night until 1 o'clock in the morning, who really helped us navigate this deal with our teachers, working with our board, working with our administration to make sure that this deal was beneficial to all of our partners. And our consultant, Brett McFadden, and his cachet of experts are connected with the state and have experience and have resources that we would not have as a tiny district of only 3,000 kids. We're not LAUSD, we're not, Oakland, so we really need to rely on some of those experts that have a cachet of resources. So I just want to thank Brett McFadden for helping us through our contract late last night and helping us reach to a settlement. I could not have done it without him, so thank you.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I just want to echo that as well, because I think that, and maybe you can speak, Brett's CV a lot better than I do, but it has a lot of state this, state that, and in terms of like the direct line to a lot of other people that can be helpful and just a lot of expertise, and to be able to have that access to that expertise is something, again, that, as you said, Amber, as a small school district, like we can never staff to that, because it's, we could staff to, again, like we said about James, and it's the same thing with Jennifer's job. It's like so many different kinds of things, but so when you need like an expert on finance, an expert on budget, an expert, I know you have a lot of facilities expertise as well. It's
And bond
really
experience.
amazing. And bond experience, and the size of this, I think, what is it, 50K or whatever it is, it's like, to just say that, how instrumental Brett was in helping us achieve what we achieved earlier this week, I think it's fair to say, from me, my view, it couldn't have happened without him. To be able to have that technical expertise where, again, like the board gives direction, the Amber, the superintendent kind of operationalizes it and figures out, like, you build the team, right? You figure out, I've got this, and you make it happen. I am really grateful to you both and to Brett as well for working together to do the stuff.
He picked up the phone last night into the wee hours and called people that I do not have access to at the state level. And I won't name names, but they're big.
Want to hear a little bit about Brett's background too, or do you know a little bit, or Brett, do you want to come up and tell us?
I know a little
just
bit.
Let's give us a quick introduction, because I'm just saying,
it's fast.
We're really lucky to have you here with us. So, but I don't want people to have to take my word for it.
No. We really, really, really are.
Yeah.
Good evening. Thank you. I'm Brett McFadden, and been serving as your fiscal advisor for the last few months, and I appreciate you bringing this contract forward. It's an honor to serve you. A little bit of a background. Education family. I spent 26 years as an educator, culminated as a superintendent for 6 years and deputy superintendent in a high school district. That my wife is the assistant superintendent in Monterey Peninsula Unified. We live fairly close here. We live in the Santa Cruz area.
Which, just one of clarification, she helped me write some communication through this crisis. Actually, she wrote it.
You probably hired the wrong McFadden. Most like she's the brains of the operation with that. And so area of expertise, I spent 15 years as a chief business officer in a number of larger school districts, and then was a superintendent in a small rural school district in the Grass Valley area with that. So have seen it for a wide perspective of work. And then I spent a significant part of my career on the policy side in Sacramento, working for the Association of California School Administrators is where I developed my network of individuals and such. So areas of expertise are school finance, governance, school facilities and such. And so really the intent here is to become a partner with all of you in the district, but particularly with staff. You can ask Jennifer, we talk probably 5 times a day of that, and she is quickly approaching the point where she is sick of me. And so, but the intent is really when we came aboard, the intent was really to do 3 core things. Number 1, develop the capacities of the business department. There's a number of functions there that need to be looked at and perhaps increased. Number 2, assist a new CBO. When I became a CBO, I had a mentor as well. When I became a superintendent, I had a mentor that provided that assistance. And then number 3 is to address the fiscal urgency and perhaps almost, and avoid a fiscal emergency possibly facing this agency. You've had FCMAT, the Fiscal Crisis Management Assistance Team, which is a state agency, and the state agency that takes over when a school district is potentially facing fiscal calamity. And you've had that agency come in twice now and issue reports in a relatively short period of time, followed with the school services report and a fact-finding report there that noted a number of things. The alarming thing I have to say from my perspective is that a high degree of those recommendations were not implemented. And that is a fiscal concern. And at that point, when agencies like FCMAT begin to see that, you're labeled what's called a lack of going concern. And we want to try to avoid that. So really the goal is to design a process, and while the labor negotiations sidetracked some of the work we were doing relative to the budget condition and cash position of this agency, nevertheless, it worked hand in hand with that. So now that with that past us, we'll then concentrate on working with the superintendent staff, coming to you in the development of, it's almost like a strategic plan. The strategic plan related to specifically fiscal services and your budget condition. And that is transparent budget making. Presentation you saw tonight on unaudited actuals. I understand, and correct me if I'm wrong, I don't know that you had that level of detail in the past with that. The unaudited actuals, it's not sexy by any means, right? And if you want to see this again, Jennifer and I are doing a lounge deck at the Ramada later on. We just sort of tear it up on that. But it is in a moment of transparency where you're seeing how you finished your year. What were your variances? And so you're seeing in a detailed format. That format tonight came from a thing that I use, but it was developed by state experts over time. And so we're bringing those practices to you. And we'll begin to dive into your budget and your budget processes. We'll work cooperatively with your county office of education. They are the fiscal oversight agency for this school district on behalf of the state. We'll work cooperatively with them. We'll work cooperatively with state officials. But more importantly, we'll work cooperatively with your partners, your labor partners in both organizations, your leaders, yourselves, your students, and your community through this process. So I stand open to any questions you have.
Just to add on to that, as you know, when we have a budget, we have to get approved by the county, right? The county is our oversight. And so in conversations with the county, when the county found out that we were partnering with Brett McFadden, I got a lot of latitude. So the county said, oh, if you're working with Brett, then okay, we'll give you some time.
This is really good for my ego. I was just talking to my wife about 2 hours ago, and I forgot to take out the trash, and I heard about it. So, yes, I know. So
That is a little more important.
Thank you.
I also want to thank you.
Wait, I have one more very important thing. So when you become in a fiscal situation that we do, the county, as our overseer, has an obligation to help us, right? And so part of their help is they provide a coach or a mentor to the CBO and to us. And so they, since we already had a contract with Mr. McFadden, they are paying for part of his contract.
So we were working with the county office to augment this cost so they can reduce your general fund costs associated with this contract. And really, I don't know if I was clear to do this, say this or not, but really what we should do in the construction, working with the board and the partners in this agency, is we should design a plan whereby you're done with me by the end of this fiscal year, and that then the CBO and her staff and her department have the capacity now moving forward to be able to lead this agency on its fiscal services.
I just want to thank you because this is what we've been asking for like a long time. And it was like, to be honest, after that first FICMAT report, I think it was just a matter of months before the pandemic hit and we had to close our schools, and needless to say, bottoms up budgeting and position control wasn't at the top of our list for about 2 to 3 years. And so to finally be able to kind of recover from that, and of course there were medical leaves and various kinds of things, to finally feel like we're at the point where our one employee has worked together with her staff to pull in the additional right resources and to also get them paid for, which is like a super bonus, and kind of feeds into that whole objective, is tremendous to see. And I feel like, okay, this is good. We're getting some traction here. And when because we've been asking for plans for like the FICMAT reports, like what's the plan to fulfill the FICMAT report? What's the plan to fulfill the FICMAT report? And that's what I'm hearing you're putting together this is the plan to fulfill like the imperatives of I know they're technically recommendations, but the guidance, the recommendations from the FICMAT report. It sounds like, we have the right team now in place.
But not only that, as you said, and this goes out to our labor partners. One of the things that came out of our fact-finding report is that we did not have the data that was needed at the time in negotiations to provide to our CUTA partners. And so that's part of what Brett's charge is, to make sure that we have those systems and processes and procedures in place so that we can provide data to our partners. Well, for us.
Thank you. We've come a long way, and it's great to see that we're keeping to move. Thanks.
Thank you. I appreciate those comments. One last comment is what Board President Hines alluded to earlier tonight is that while we have passed one hurdle, we have many more to go. And so some of our most difficult decisions moving forward over the course of this year and probably into the next fiscal year are yet to come. And so I'm confident, though, that you have the team in place to be able to do that. And I'm hopeful that the recent negotiated settlement or the tentative agreement that's before both parties at least creates the opportunity for dialogue and discussion in order to collectively do that in partnership.
And it's realistic Ron or something.
You
I
paid
don't
me
know.
to tell you the truth as best I could see it.
That's what we need. Also, too, I think you mentioned, I heard or something that you had, your mentor was Michael Fine, who's the head of FICMAT, which is very helpful to basically know what the kind of things that FICMAT is looking to, talking with Jennifer and supporting her 5 times a day. That's awesome. So.
And Brett has promised introductions to other people beyond our district that might help us, help move the conversation along on more fun.
Right, the
not
funding
just more funding,
inequities that we have.
to fix the fundamental flaw. So,
Yes. Right. All right. Thank you. I'm honored to serve you. Thank you.
Thanks so much. Call the vote, please.
Okay.
Did you say?
Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say no. Passes 5-0.
Man, this has been the fastest meeting in ages. I know. Okay, so that brings us to governance matters. I see a proposal to continue the practice of holding 2x2s between the school district and Half Moon Bay City Council. Would you like to speak to that?
Yes, so I met with our city manager, Matthew, and had a wonderful conversation about how we can support each other, right? The city and our school district. And so what the proposal was is to first start these conversations with first their staff and my staff, and then bring it to the board to see if there's a desire, after we've kind of established some relationships between staff and staff, to then bring in staff and elected officials. But I wanted to bring it to the board to see, is there a desire to establish a 2x2? So those that don't know, is a 2x2 is usually 2 board members from the city, 2 board members from our board, and then your staff, usually a superintendent or designee, and then the city manager or designee. So I'm seeking guidance.
I think that would be a good idea. We had started that. I think you had done it, Sophie, in 2019. I had started in 2020. You did it too? Okay. And so, yeah, we just kind of fell off the wagon. So, pandemic. It was pre-pandemic things.
Correct,
Yeah.
correct. So I just, again, I serve at the pleasure of the board, but I need a majority. We don't have to take a roll call vote or anything, but I just kind of need a thumbs up from at least 3 of you.
Yeah, I support it. Again, it was,
Okay.
I think it was
Thank you.
helpful to have, it kind of fell off with the pandemic and like wasn't the top of the priorities to bring back after all that stuff. So I think now that you kind of developing the relationships and want to do it.
So our process is going to be, Matthew and I are going to kind of just do staff to staff first, just kind of get some things established.
that's more
And then we will bring in our elected officials, which is you all.
I
But
trust
I just
you
wanted to see your desire.
Yeah.
In the
I
past,
trust you.
it's been the president and vice president.
Mhm.
So, yeah.
The committees that we approved in December.
Yeah.
The 2x2 committee. And yeah, it's Kimberly and Carmen.
Thank you. Just a kind of a point of privilege under governance. One of the things that I had gotten a phone call from Kirk Reamer. You had, I believe, spoken to him about a pool. It's approaching 9 o'clock and I'm tongue-tied. But the premise was to put it in the consent agenda. So a feasibility study might be done at no cost to the district on swimming pool at the high school. And so, but they would need our concurrence to proceed with the feasibility study. So I just wanted to name that so the other board members heard it, to potentially put on the consent agenda next month.
I will, thank you. I was neglectful. I should have put it on this month, but this little thing called negotiations kind of took over. So we will add it to the consent agenda for October.
Thank you. Any other governance?
That will be new business, right? Okay.
Yeah. Yes. For A or B, either one.
If we do it in order, it might be easier for my minutes.
For the minutes, okay. So then that's B. Any other comments on A? B? That brings us to future events. Tuesday, September 17, there's a bond and parcel tax oversight committee meeting via Zoom. Thursday, the 19th, budget advisory committee meeting via Zoom and in person. Thank you. And Thursday, September 26th, board study session in the district office. And our topic is was this the attendance? I think it's on
Yes.
attendance.
No, I'm sorry. It's differentiated assistance.
Okay.
Understanding what that is, and that's a state requirement or state monitoring. So
Okay.
differentiated assistance, and that ties into chronic absenteeism, because we are flagged for chronic absenteeism. So it's chronic absenteeism, kind of enrollment, and then differentiated assistance.
Thank you. And then if I recall correctly, it's not until October, but we'll have another study session on facilities then. So just trying to, just to name for the public, get in the habit of doing our regular meetings, and then some topics that might take a little longer to talk through and listen, and the board have more information that's not decisional, but strictly informative. We're going to work towards.
So the difference for the public between a regular board meeting and a study session is a study session is really more collaborative and more engaging, and so there's a chance for the public to kind of ask questions, like not in a formal, 3-minute, comment card. So it's really an opportunity to really engage with the board, to kind of really study an issue or a topic to figure out how we can make policy or changes or improvements or recommendations.
To be clear, there's still board meetings, they're not meetings with the public, right? That would be a different kind of meeting, like a committee meeting or something.
So say that again?
So a special board session is still a meeting of the board?
Correct.
Yeah,
But
it's not meant as like a.
It's not a town
Yeah,
hall, it's not an
yeah,
open
yeah,
forum,
yeah.
but
Or like a
it is a
committee
little bit
meeting.
more loose
Yeah.
in the fact that the community can engage a little bit
Yeah.
more with you.
Yeah.
And you can actually engage with staff too to ask questions, and the public can view that and hear
It's
your
a lot
thoughts.
less formal.
Lot less formal, thank you.
And we'll give ourselves some grace and space to not be perfect, but keep working on it and just get more information on the table. And then our next governing board meeting, regular meeting, is October 10th. Do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you, everybody.